I just shot 2 interviews for a family friend for the very first time, and in this video I'm going to break down exactly how I planned it, what I got wrong, what actually worked, and how you can create something like this even if you've never done interviews before, just like me. So in this video, I'm breaking down my first ever interview setup, how I lit it, how I directed it, and how I handled recording 2 speakers on a low budget. So you can take something from this and improve your own work. Firstly, this wasn't a shoot I was prepared for. It was actually a production team handoff from a wedding videographer based in a different country entirely. A family friend called me a few days before and asked if I was available to shoot 2 interviews on a 1-week timeline. I had never shot an interview before, but thought this would be a great opportunity to get some experience. The brief was simple: 2 interviews, 10 questions each, and 1 week to deliver. Since this was my first time shooting interviews and doing it solo, I didn't want to overcomplicate anything. I kept everything manageable and focused on 3 key things: composition, sound, and comfort. Since this was a family friend, we decided the easiest place to shoot would be at my house. So I started looking around and figuring out where I could build a setup. I took photos of the room from multiple angles, trying to visualize the best possible frame. I ended up using an accent chair I had lying around and built the shot around that. I placed the camera where it is for 2 main reasons. First, the bookshelves here created leading lines that naturally drew attention to the subject. And second, the TV unit on the right here had built-in light strips, which worked really well as a subtle rim light or catch light. From there, I adjusted the camera and chair position until everything felt balanced. Shout out to my friend here who just sat in while I figured everything out. For lighting, I used 2 practicals: a lamp from my room set to its warm setting, and a small 30-watt LED set to 2700 Kelvin. My key light was set to 4300 Kelvin. Since I only had an 80-watt light, I dimmed the room as much as possible, so the key light could actually shape the subject. I placed it at a 45-degree angle from the subject and set it at a standing height, pointing it slightly down. You also might notice that the light looks very soft. That's because I used a booklight setup. Normally, that involves bouncing light into a reflector and then diffusing it, but I just didn't have enough space for a full setup. So instead, I used a reflector umbrella with a diffusion sheet over it. It gave me a very soft, similar look, while taking up much less space. The way it works is by bouncing your key light into the umbrella, which reflects it outwards into the diffusion, in turn making it very soft. I also used a flag on the left side to stop light bouncing back and flattening the image, which helped add a bit more contrast. Since I was filming 2 interview setups, I had the idea to flip them. So, one subject would be sitting on the left, looking off to the right of the camera, and the other subject would be the opposite. But looking back, this is something I'd change, and it's something I definitely do regret. The second setup just wasn't as strong visually. The background was too close to the subject, so everything felt more in focus and less cinematic. It also lacked separation because there was no rim light, since the TV light couldn't be used in the same way from that angle. For audio, I used the DJI Mic Minis, which I am using right now. On the actual shoot, they were hidden, but I've shown them here for demonstration purposes. I plugged the receiver directly into my camera and monitored audio using headphones on set, which is something I'd highly recommend. People talk a lot about monitoring visuals, but audio is just as important, especially for interviews. You need to know if something is peaking, too quiet, or if you're picking up any unwanted noise. In my case, I noticed one of the speakers rubbing their hands when talking, something I wouldn't have caught otherwise without monitoring. So I was able to direct them and fix this issue on the spot. I also recorded room tone, which is essentially just silence in the room, to clear out any background noises that I didn't want, such as the hum of a fridge in my case. So again, if you're doing anything like this, just get a cheap pair of headphones, or even pick up any old wired earphones you may have lying around. So, the last thing, and probably the most important in hindsight: comfort. Let me explain. You can have the best composition, the best sound, the best gear, but making sure that your interviewees feel relaxed is absolutely crucial. because if they feel like they're being filmed, it shows on camera immediately. And this leads me to how the shoot actually went. After 2 days of prep, I had 2 days to shoot. I planned to do 1 interview per day to give myself enough time to edit afterwards as well. But things didn't go to plan. Everything was set up and the first speaker arrived, so we had 5 hours, which I thought was plenty of time. Since we were shooting at home, I decided to tether the camera to my laptop so we could check framing together, and then once we were done, I'd turn the laptop back towards me. I mic'd them up and told them we'd aim for at least 3 takes per question. But as soon as we started, I realized my biggest challenge yet. They were nervous on camera. They kept forgetting lines and speaking quite stiffly. They had pre-written answers, so I let them keep those nearby, out of frame, while we rolled. I thought I could edit around it, but that created 2 big problems. First, there were moments where they started speaking before looking up, which made it quite obvious that they were reading. Second, the constant pauses reset their tone every time, making everything sound monotoned and difficult to cut around. I only realized how bad this was once I reviewed the footage later that night. So, I called them and we decided to redo it. Now, I had 5 hours and 2 interviews to shoot. This time, I started with the second speaker first and changed my approach completely. Instead of sitting behind the camera, I sat next to it and we had a casual conversation for about 10 minutes. I even told them that the camera was rolling when it actually wasn't, just so they could familiarize themselves with the presence of the camera. Once we started properly, the difference was huge. The answers felt a lot more natural, emotional, and a lot more usable. We wrapped that in about 2 hours and I quickly reset for the next interview. I used the same approach and it worked again. Both interviews were completed on time. I spent the next 2 days editing, and during that process I realized another issue. There was a glass door in the room with blinds, but light was still leaking through it. As the daylight changed, it affected the exposure across the span of the interview. It wasn't a major issue, but it's something I'd definitely be more aware of next time, and something that you can be aware of. After a light grade, I delivered everything to the production company, and they were pretty pleased with it. I was just relieved it all came together. So that's how I shot my first ever interviews. If you have any questions or tips on how I could have done better, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. Also, this is a new channel and one of my first ever videos. I'll be using this space to document my projects, share behind the scenes, and talk about what I'm learning as a videographer. If that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. It would genuinely mean a lot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.